Hey, I'm Anne Coquette, and in this show, we bring you the most inspiring stories from female entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators in our ecosystem, the Guild community. Hello, and welcome to the Guild Show. Today with Selena Hansen, and we are so excited to have her here to tell us about her journey as an entrepreneur who started a spa-inspired co-working space. So, Felena, welcome to the Guild Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how did you get started? What's your founder journey? What inspired you to say, you know what, we really need more women-focused and a spa-inspired co-working space for women to congregate?
Yeah, well, just a brief bit of background. I'm from California. I spent my 20s in technology startups, first in sales and then marketing. And had the pleasure of being laid off 3 times by the age of 30. 2 companies sold, 1 ran out of money. And so I started a marketing strategy company at that time at age 30. And like a lot of folks, especially professional service providers, worked out of my house. And, cost effective, convenient. But over the course of 8 years, I continued to grow to miss community, having coworkers, so to speak. Felt I was, isolated, lack of creativity, and then just frankly distraction at home. And we all are now very, very well versed in working at home because of the last 15 or so months. But I like to say, it's great to have options, right? Some days working at home is great, and some days you just need to get the heck out. So with that, I started researching, executive suites, flexible office spaces. And I found that this is at the time in 2010. I'm here in San Diego then and still now. And the only co-working space at the time, and this is really early in the co-working movement, so to speak. I mean, this is the same year WeWork, kind of their first iteration, opened. And it was a cool space downtown San Diego, but it was technically not my tribe. Kind of a bunch of young 20-something dudes with hooded sweatshirts and headphones on, and literally a beer keg and a ping pong table in the space. And I thought, this is cool, but again, not my tribe. And I started researching this kind of movement into co-working, not just executive suites, which have been around forever and ever, executive workspaces, but co-working truly is community first and space second. And I was running a couple professional women's organizations, one at the time called Ladies Who Launch. It's a national organization running these incubator intensive workshops, always searching for space, trying to wrangle somebody's, boutique that I could use at night and set up chairs. I mean, I was schlepping a lot of stuff around, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could bring this all together? So I did. It took me a year. It was very challenging to find commercial real estate the first go. Just because you see for lease signs all over the place doesn't mean they want you to sign up as a tenant. And in fact, as a new business with no track record, it is very difficult to get commercial space. And we'd just gone through the 2008-9 recession, and everybody was a little gun shy. So long story short, I finally made it happen. And I wanted a space that was beautiful, welcoming, warm, but not, I'll just say it, pink. Not something that was just so overtly feminine. We are female focused, but gender inclusive. We do have a handful of male members, and I have men in the space on a daily basis. Just because, I'm sure you feel this way too, and just because you're pro women doesn't mean you're anti-male, right? And so we want a space where women feel comfortable, they feel welcomed, they feel like it's a home away from home, kind of coined the third workplace. But we also want it to be a place that gentlemen feel welcome as well. So that is that I came up with the spa-inspired aesthetic, candles, running water, aromatherapy, soft music, good lighting. Our spaces look quite different than a lot of other spaces, the kind of techie, common co-working spaces, or the other female focused but co-working spaces that have come up after us. We've been in business 10 years now, have, the she space kind of model, which is a lot of white and pink.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And, me having been in San Francisco in this wave of co-working spaces opening up with the likes of Runway and the Twitter building starting, and then it's just like snowballed, right? And all these spaces started to pop up. And I felt exactly like you. I always felt like, oh, I'm not their target audience here.
Yeah.
It might be great to work from here and you have a good view, but the community was lacking, as you said. And then when I learned about Hera Hub a long time ago, actually, I think it must have been at the beginning of the Guild in 2016 or 17, and we connected, I thought, oh, what a brilliant idea, right? And you were really one of the pioneers in this space. So you weren't, following other people's examples. So tell us, how did that go? Like, you started your first office, co-working space, you got the commercial real estate. How did you get the people? And I know that you're in many states now, right? Like, you really branched out. So tell us, how did you go from idea and zero in that first office to where you are today?
Yeah, we, like you talk about in the tech world a lot, it's, minimum viable product. When we couldn't get our first space, we did a pop-up space in a Pilates studio. And we ran that I was there for 4 months before I actually was able to finally negotiate that first lease deal. And day one, it was, even in our temporary space, day one was, just bring as many people in as I can. We hosted a lot of events. I already had a quite large network because I had been involved, as I mentioned, in Ladies Who Launch and another group prior to that, Women's Global Network. So I was out already doing a lot of networking, so to speak, here in San Diego. And I just told everybody, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I see new founders make, is they want to keep their idea a secret until they're ready to like pull the curtains back and, reveal their big thing. And I think that's a mistake. I understand if you have something that's highly proprietary that you can protect with a patent, of course, but most of us don't have that, right? I say get out there and tell everyone. So I told everyone, no matter what. And I had a lot of people like, what are you doing? I don't understand. That doesn't make sense. So it was just telling everybody I knew and hosting events and getting people in the space. We grew quite quickly initially. And in fact, so I'm, if folks watching this are familiar with San Diego, we're, one of the biggest cities in the US, but very spread out. And so I positioned our first location kind of dead center, not downtown, but kind of dead center in the county. And then quickly started getting people from kind of South San Diego saying, well, wait, I want one of these near me in North San Diego. So in the first 2 years of business, I opened 2 additional locations. So we had 3 locations in the first 2 years of operations. And that was a really good way for me to kind of build it and break it and build it and break it. We went through numerous software platforms, numerous iterations of processes and CRM systems and email marketing systems and all the things. Spent a lot of money. I probably didn't need to spend on the wrong furniture and the wrong decisions and build out and things of that nature. And it was around year 3 when I started having folks say, this is interesting. I like what you're doing. I like the brand. I like the mission. I like the model. I want to do this in my city. So our first expansion location opened 6 years ago in Washington, D.C. We expanded through a licensing model, partially because, well, a big part, I would say, is because I'm not the woman to do this in Washington, D.C., right? I really want to empower a woman who has roots in that community to continue to build the entrepreneurial community in her city. And part of it too is our members are entrepreneurs by and large. Yes, we have a handful of remote workers, but mostly entrepreneurs. And I want that connection between the space operator to be also an entrepreneur, not just a hired gun, so to speak, somebody who's in the shoes of their members and can say, I've been there, done that. I understand what you're going through. I want to help you. That was really, really important to me. And that has played out to be as important as I thought it would be, that connection between the owner of the location and her community. So right now we have 6 locations. We're slotted to open in a couple new states this year, and continue to have conversations with folks about bringing our kind of just-in-time business accelerator model to other co-working spaces as well.
So that's interesting. So you are not just a space where people go and sit down with their headphones on, right? But you also provide much more than the space.
Yeah, on average 20 hours a week of programming.
Wow.
So most of that is still being delivered online because of COVID. We're starting to bring back some of those events hybrid into the space. We are doing some kind of more social events in the space as it's safe to do so. But our members in our 6 locations have really enjoyed connecting with each other over these virtual events, combination of virtual co-working and accountability groups, mastermind groups, education, what we call our sub-hubs, so affinity groups within the community that meet on particular topics. So again, co-working is community first and space second. And I believe, do a very, very good job illustrating that.
Yeah. And, I can so feel you, because in the Guild too, last year, and actually end of 2019, they decided to go more digital and global and connect also the entrepreneurs that are in Idaho and in Azerbaijan with Silicon Valley and the entrepreneurship mojo over there, right? And so it's been really interesting to see that grow through our virtual programs and also the events that we host. So I think there's a lot of overlap here, and I'm so excited that you're a Guild Pro member and that we're continuing to explore how we can really help each other and find our target audience and help those women who want to start their dream businesses. So I wanted to double click on one thing and also say that I loved what you said, put your ideas out there. Even if you have a highly proprietary solution, you probably never put that source code in front of people, right? If you did, you're probably doing your user interviews or your marketing wrong, because nobody wants to know what's going on in the back end of your systems, right? Like the promise you want to market, and it's so important. And we teach that in the Guild Academy too. Like, you have to be out there, you have to talk to people and get that feedback. And I'm sure you learned a lot about the right furniture and the right vibe and the right events that resonate with your audience, right? So love that. And I think it's so smart that you did a licensing model. And I remember we connected on the licensing because I was thinking too, for the Guild, perhaps we could do something similar and bring the Guild to more cities and countries in the world too. And you were so gracious and lent your time and also your contacts to help me understand the licensing model and if that is a fit for us at the Guild. Now, I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs in our community as well who are interested in that, but don't know much about it. And I think one of the big questions I get when it comes to influencer marketing or ambassadors is, well, how do we make sure that it stays true to our mission and our core values, and it's not somebody taking this in a different direction? And I was wondering if you have any lessons learned that you could share with the community of how you make sure that Hera Hub in Washington doesn't feel completely different than the ones in San Diego.
Yeah, it's a great question. It comes down to, I think, first and foremost, the people. So we spend a lot of time vetting a potential licensee and taking them through a quite rigorous process to make sure they're a good fit and we're a good fit all the way around. So you really have to trust the person. You also put parameters in place contractually, right? Like anything else. I'll be honest, you can have the best contract in the world, but implementing that contract, isn't always easy. And you have to be open that it's not going to be cookie cutter, frankly. Everybody's going to put their own flavor and spin on it, but as long as it aligns with the mission and the values, I'll give you an example. We have an office up in Irvine, a Hera Hub up in Irvine that's been open about a year and a half. And, the space has, some of the same color palettes, some of the same feel, aesthetics. But that owner infused instead of more, so our color palette is blue, like a kind of grayish blue and brown, like very grounding colors. And she infused a little more of orange instead of brown, right? So kind of orange and blue. And initially, it seems like a silly thing, right? But these are your brand colors. And so, initially it was like, wait, what? But, as long as, and this is the case in Washington, D.C., I've had San Diego members go to D.C., quite a few, and say, when I walked in the door, I knew it was a Hera Hub, period. And that is, that's a proud accomplishment. I'm going to say, because I didn't fly, I went to DC and helped my licensee look for space and, talked her through the build out and all the furniture and, getting membership going. We provide all that as the licensor. But the day she opened, I wasn't there. And that was probably my proudest business moment still to this day, even 6 years later, was the fact that I was able to take something and build a system and a model and a process. Thousands of pages of content on our operations, virtual operations platform, video, screencasts, thousands of pages and thousands of hours to develop it. But that's how you duplicate yourself. That's how you replicate a business, is you have to document everything. And so I was excited when I had my first member come back and say, I went to DC and I knew I was in a Hera Hub.
Yay. That's a big win. That's amazing. And I think what you just said also applies to businesses that just grow, right? And grow out of their headquarters and start offices in other hubs, and even businesses that want to go international. I think I have these conversations a lot as a mentor of the German accelerator, helping companies come here. You have to put that in place and document what you want people to take with them. And then also sometimes be there, right? I think it worked great for you. But for me, I also realized sometimes being there and being present and living the values in front of everybody helps a lot too, in an office setting or in a co-working space, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So last question, I'd love to know, who is the perfect member for Hera Hub? Like, explain to us, who is the entrepreneur who is in Hera Hub? And I know it's probably a wide variety, but is it just the tech entrepreneurs, or is there also other types of women?
Yeah, so frankly, we're mostly non-tech. A lot of solopreneurs, a lot of professional service providers like attorneys, folks in finance, marketing, a fair number of nonprofit organizations, social impact consultants. Yes, a very, very wide variety. And, I'll also mention, in answering your question, if somebody is, lives in Wichita, Kansas, I don't know, I'm just making something up. And they're thinking, okay, I may want to consider looking for a co-working space. I'll just give a few tips on what to look for in a co-working space. So if you're somebody who's working from home, which most of us are, whether you're employed or self-employed, and you think, hey, it might be nice to get out even just 1 or 2 days a week, get dressed up, wear clothes, put on makeup, walk out the door, leave my kids and pets behind. Where do you want to sit, so to speak? So when you're researching co-working spaces, really dig and look at their community involvement. How did they give back to the community? What have they involved with? even beyond their website. If you just Google them, can you find articles or, links via other platforms? What do they do to give back to the community? Hera Hub is a public benefit corporation, so we have 3 mandates that we follow in giving back to the community. So look for that. Are they just there to make a buck, or are they there truly to give back? And then look at their events calendar. Almost every co-working space will have one, and most of them have hardly anything on it. So really study that, and what type of events do they have? If they do have events, are they events that you can learn from? Are they events that are kind of attracting your tribe, so to speak? Folks that might be good for you to network with. Really, really study that. And last but not least, ask for a test drive before you join. We give everybody who wants to give it a try, take a spin, so to speak, an opportunity to do that for a few hours, just to make sure, the working environment is right for them. Again, even though we're community first and space second, we do have people utilize us for the space. And so, we want to make sure, I'll just say, for example, recruiters, people who are recruiting for jobs, oftentimes are not a fit for a co-working space, because if you're on the phone all of the time, you're probably, you need a private office, or you need to work from home. So, it just depends on your work style, what you do. If you're a super duper duper introvert and you never want to see people, then don't probably join a co-working space. Frankly, it's probably, not the right fit for you. Just maybe go get a private office. But if you're social, you're looking for connection, you're looking for feedback, opportunities to meet other like-minded people, that's what you want to look for in a co-working space.
Oh, I love that. Those were great tips. And I wish I had these tips before I started looking for co-working spaces in San Francisco a long time ago.
Yeah.
So Felena, thank you so much for joining us here today. Last question. How can we help you? How can our community help you and Hera Hub flourish?
Yeah, if you know anybody anywhere, really. I mean, we did expand to Sweden pre-pandemic, and unfortunately had to close that particular location due to COVID, but we are growing, and I'm looking to meet amazing women across the globe who want to build a physical platform for their community, a place for women to gather and learn and grow together. So if you know anybody that kind of fits the leader connector profile, send them my way. I would love to have a conversation.
Fantastic. And all the locations are on your website, and we are putting all the links in the show notes as well, so you can easily follow Felena and the Hera Hub. So thanks so much for joining us today, Felena, and all the best for you and Hera Hub.
Thank you.
If you're inspired, then subscribe to our channels on YouTube, on our social media channels at Get Gilded, and also on our platform, letsgild.com. You can also sign up to our newsletter to get news about the latest and greatest in inspiring stories from female founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators in the Guild. I'll see you next time.